Hi guys, welcome back to Saving Salvage and welcome back to the channel. I was hoping today's video was going to be on the Mustang, but unfortunately my frame puller hasn't turned up. It didn't turn up yesterday like I was promised, so I kind of hung around waiting for it yesterday and it never turned up, so I kind of felt like I wasted a bit of time. So it still hasn't arrived now. It's now Tuesday mid-morning. It still hasn't arrived, so I'm not going to wait for it any longer and I'm going to crack on with one of the old A3 projects. And today, as it's a nice day outside and I can't really do much on the TDI with the turbo because ideally I'd want to use the ramp. So today we are going to look at the 3.2 V6 and get the computer out, get VAGCOM out and have a look and start diagnosing that fault. So that's it, let's crack on with the 3.2 V6 with the indicator fault. The thing I'm going to do is just quickly put some fuel in it because I have no idea how long it's been on naught, so my guess is it's probably not going to last much longer, so we'll just stick some fuel in. Right, we'll go for another start. This one should be slightly easier as soon as I started it the other day. Maybe not. Right, so I've got her back in the shade now. I did park her in the sun because it's a bit cold today and I thought it's not a lot nicer to work with the sun on you, but unfortunately I tried to get the screen recording on the laptop and there's just no way because of the sun. The reflection's terrible, so I've had to park her back in the shade. Just for everyone that hasn't seen the last video, we're doing a fault diagnosis today on the A3 3.2 V6 Quattro with the indicator fault. So the hazard switch is on at the minute. It doesn't make a difference whether it's hazards or indicators on the indicator stalk. The rear hazard switch, or rear hazards, sorry, work, but both side repeaters and the near side front indicator does not work. So this is my method of fault diagnosis. It's not necessarily the best method. I'm not saying it is, but this is the way I have done things for many years. So the first thing I would check is, the obvious thing to check first is a fuse. In this case there's not really much point in checking a fuse because we know the fuse isn't going to be the problem because the indicators do actually work. I mean, some fuses, cars work differently. Some fuses will operate individual side. So one fuse may operate the left hand side indicators, one fuse may operate the right, and then one fuse may operate the indicators full stop. So for the fuses on this car, I've just checked the manual, owner's manual, and there is no actually specific fuse for the indicators in this one. It's just lighting left and lighting right, so guessing that means all the lights on the left hand side of the vehicle is operated by one fuse and all the lights on the right hand side of the vehicle is operated by one fuse. So therefore, because we have lights working on both sides, the fuse in theory should be fine, but just to check it, just to double make sure, so I've got the owner's manual open to the fuse section. So as you can see here, it says lighting left, controlling it for vehicle electrical system. So that is fuse 47 and it should be a 40 amp fuse. And that fuse location is the engine bay. So fuse 47 and 48 are these two big ones here, and as you can see, because they're big enough, you can see just by looking in there that both of them are intact. So we know that the fuse is not our issue. So the next thing I'd want to do now is to see if there's any common problems associated with the indicators, whether it's just the indicators that are at fault or if there's any other lights that are at fault. So now we'll go for a full light test. So we'll do headlights, fog lights, got the hazards on already, so let's just see what if there's any other lights that are at fault. So fog light works, side light, that side works, that side light works, number plate bulbs both work. Come around to the front. So headlight works, side light, where is the side light? Side light doesn't work on this side. That could just be a bulb, because the side light works on this side, and so does the headlight, and that fog light doesn't work, but again, that could be a bulb, or I might not have plugged it in. So it's clear that we have power to our lights, because obviously the headlight and the side light works, so there's not a power supply issue to the headlight. So there's no other real problems there. So we can turn them off. So the next thing I'm now going to do is now do a fault check on the computer. Right, so we'll just go into fault codes, which is O2, and there we go, look, no fault codes found at all in the central control unit. So if we go on output test, and then we can go left turn signal and press start. I know they're not going to work, but just as a precautionary, we'll check it. That just confirms activating it in VAGCOM. Right, so what we can do here, look, we're actually eliminating the indicator that's at fault. This is just to prove that the indicator isn't faulty. So what we've brought up here is our measured values for our turn signal. So we've got 3 on the left and 3 on the right. So you can see our actual here is 1%, which is off. That's because our indicators aren't working. So what we can do is we can test out here our output for our hazard switch and indicators by, if we do left, we can see that our 3 left signals are going to 100%, then back off again. All 3 are working, all 3 are going to 100% and back off. So we know that that's fine. And then right, again, all 3 are doing the same thing. So we know that the indicator stalk is operating correctly. And if we just do hazards, all 6 are doing it. So we know that our hazard switch and our indicator stalk are not at fault. So the problem is past these. So now there's not really much VAGCOM can help us with at the minute, because the output tests from the switches are all fine. So now we need really, ideally, a wiring diagram to see where the wires go from here and where they go to. Right, so now we've discovered that our J519, our central electrics control unit, that is receiving the correct signals and outputting the correct signals to at least one of the bulbs on the correct side. We have to assume at this point that the control unit is operating correctly, but we will go to J519, which is located just under this dash panel, and what we'll do is we'll have a look at the output wires coming out of the 519 just to make sure the signal is definitely going out for these bulbs. I have checked a wiring diagram, and the wire goes directly from the J519 control unit directly to the bulb. So therefore, if the output of the control unit is correct, i.e. we're seeing 12 volts on a duty cycle every time the indicator's going, then we know that our control units are fine, and therefore it must be a break in the wire between the control unit and the bulb. So that is what we're going to do, is we're now just going to whip this little panel down, and just so we can eliminate control units. Right, so I've just got my J519 down. Just removed the headlight switch panel, which goes across under the steering wheel column here. J519 is literally located just under it, and there's 2 little tabs that you've got, and there's just 2 little tabs you've got to release, and the whole thing drops down, and then you've got access to the whole control unit. So I've got a friend at Volkswagen, he sent me through the wiring diagrams for this car, so I've asked him to send me the pins or the wiring diagram from the switch to the bulb basically. And what I have here is, we're going to start with the side repeaters. I don't know why I just decided to start with those. And what I've got here, it's going to be impossible to show you on here because I can barely make it out myself, but what we've got is left side mounted turn signal, so that's the left hand side. That side is an M18 bulb, that's what the bulb is. And if I look on the wiring diagram, M18 bulb here, I'm showing you, but I don't know if you're able to see it. The bulb's here, M18, and you can see here that it comes direct from J519 directly to the bulb, and there's a ground. So what we want to do now is, it says here T11B, and on the info, T11B is 11 pin connector, black connector A. So if I look on the control unit, we have 11. They are coded, the connector plugs on the control unit, and we have an 11 pin connector here, and it says connector A. So the next thing I want to do is just find the wire. So then we go back into the wiring diagram, and it says here T11B/8, which means it's pin 8 on that connector. So then we need to find the connectors, find the pins. The pins should be normally numbered, so it will say 1 in the top corner, and then it will go across, and then it will say like 6 if there's 6 pins on that row, so then you can work out which pin is which. So next, pin 8, which I can find is a black and white wire. So then all we've got to do now is, it should tell you the wire as well, and it will have a color code, and this says WSSW, which if I zoom in is black and white. So that's perfect, we found the correct wire. So now what we've got to do is get the multimeter, plug it in, or just poke the wire in there, and then actuate the indicators, and then we'll see if it's a control unit fault or a wiring fault. First thing I'm going to do is just test the bulb that I know does work, which is this offside front bulb here. I just want to test it to make sure that the equipment's correct, and I have a good earth that I'm using, which is on the door latch here. So I've already plugged it into the correct pin. I found the pin for the offside front headlight, the offside front indicator. So and then if we indicate, there we go, look. You can see on the camera there, look, the voltage is spiking up to sort of 11 volts, then back to 0, back to 11. Obviously the multimeter is not going to show it 100% accurate because it can't keep up with how quickly the indicators are operating, so it's just showing a rough, but you can see there it's just going from sort of 11 down to 2, 1, look, back up to 11. So we know that my earth's good, and we know that that indicator works as it does. Right, so now what I've done is I've plugged it into the opposite side headlight, so now I'm on the near side front indicator bulb. So now this is going to basically tell us whether we have a control unit fault or possibly a wiring fault. So I'll do the same again, use my same earth. I've already plugged it into the correct pin, so ignition on. So ignition on, left, and as you can see, look, absolutely nothing. So that would indicate, I'll just check the other 2 wires as well, but that would indicate J519 is at fault. Right guys, so I've just tested these side repeaters on both sides, and again there's no output from J519 at all, no voltage at all from the multimeter, so therefore our issue is J519 central electrical unit. Right guys, so we've successfully diagnosed the problem on the indicators on the 3.2 V6. So just a quick recap, we checked the fuse, knew it wouldn't be the fuse, but just check it anyway. Fuse is all good. We've checked the rest of the lights just to make sure there's no other issues, just make sure it's just the indicators that there's a problem. All the other lights are absolutely fine. So the next thing we did, went onto the computer, went onto VAGCOM, checked for any faults. There was no faults stored in the ECU or the onboard power control unit or J519 central electrics at all. So the next thing to do was to check the data in the J519, which is Central Electrics, and it was in fact receiving a signal from the hazard switch and the indicator stalks to turn the indicators on. So we know that the J519 was receiving the correct information to turn the indicators on. So the next thing to do was to check the output from the J519. So I managed to get some wiring diagrams from a friend that works at Audi. He sent them through. I managed to locate the J519, which was under the dash, locate the correct output wires from J519, which went straight to the bulb, and tested the one that worked on the near side front first, and as you saw, absolutely fine, got the voltage required, and then tested the other 3 bulbs and got no voltage at all, which tells us that there's no output from J519 Central Electrics. So we know there's input and we know there's no output, which only leaves one solution. J519 is faulty and we need a new one. So I have just gone online. I've ordered a second-hand one from eBay, £27 delivered, not too bad. But what you do need to be careful of is that you order the correct part. Right, so that's it for today's video, guys. We've got the A3 3.2 V6 out. We've brought it into outside the workshop. We've been working on it all day today, and we've diagnosed the J519 at fault. Ordered a new one, and hopefully that should be here according to eBay on Thursday. So if you do enjoy these videos, guys, please do like and subscribe. And also, if you haven't already, please head over to my Instagram page and follow me on there as well for just some pictures and updates during the week. And hopefully on the next video we'll be getting back on the Mustang, because it's stuck on the ramp and I can't really do much else with that being on there. So the part should have arrived yesterday. It's now Tuesday afternoon, it still hasn't arrived, so hopefully the part's going to arrive tomorrow and we can crack on with the Mustang and hopefully get a video out for you on Friday. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you hopefully at the end of the week.